You are listening to KC Sports Network, the #1 podcast network for today's Kansas City sports fans. With former players from your favorite teams, informed perspectives, and former insiders, this is the place for you. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts or on our YouTube channel, all over social media, or our morning newsletter, KCSN Daily, dedicated to your Kansas City Chiefs. KC Sports Network is proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
What's going on? Welcome to this special live episode of 21 Questions. I'm BJ Kissel. That is Tucker Franklin. And we are at the Macadoodles location in Lee Summit, Missouri. And we're going to talk a little bit about Macadoodles here. And actually, Tucker, before we get this show started, let's roll a little special promo that we've got for Macadoodles if you're not familiar. All right, quick little promo there for Macadoodles. But if you have not yet been in a Macadoodles, this is the first one in the Kansas City area here in Lee Summit. Opened 6 weeks ago today. We found out it is a liquor store on steroids, Tucker.
It's incredible. And being in one, this one's such like state of the art, right? It just opened. It's incredible being in one. It's always an experience, great customer service. And listen, that's what you want when you're trying to find what you're going to have a good time. You want that customer service. It's great. And I love being at Macadoodles every time we're at one.
Yeah, we found out today and tonight we're recording this. You're watching live. Obviously, no, it's Friday. If you're listening to the podcast a little bit later this afternoon, they've got 7 specialty tastings, whether it's wine, beer, liquor. They've always got different vendors coming in, or their internal staff that are always up to date. They know what's going on. You can tell them what you like. They will point you in the right direction. And the beautiful thing about Macadoodles, if you want to try something before you buy it, you just point at it, you take it over to tasting area, and they'll let you taste it before you buy it. But they've got this 7 specialty tastings just tonight. So if you're in the Lee Summit area or anywhere in Kansas City, you want to check it out, I invite you to come over to this Macadoodles. I just got done talking with some of their staff, and Jacob, one of the executives, one of the owners here, and just a beautiful place. And this thing is immaculate. It is an experience to come into one of these stores. And
they got 2 tasting areas too. They got one over there in the corner, and they got one right here for the wine. They got the wine set up right here. They're going to have a whole lot of stuff, as you mentioned, BJ. Make your weekend of it. You start your weekend off right here at Macadoodles and get some good stuff.
Obviously, you can stop on your way to, buddy's house, wherever you're watching the Chiefs game on the weekend, busy, but even during the week, make sure you stop by here. And they've got, what do you say, like 400 something crazy number of different craft beers that they have
over
here. And they actually said, it was over 400. And they said that if there's something that you like that they don't carry, they will order it, even if they don't have to order it in bulk, which is special and different compared to other places that we've been. But appreciate all of you for hanging out again on this special episode of 21 Questions, where we take questions from our Discord, from our paid subscribers to the KCSN Substack. But we'll sneak in some questions if you're watching live. You shoot them on YouTube, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're at. Send them on Twitter. We'll make sure to get to those questions too. But Tucker, what do we got first?
First question, title of the show. We got to get to it at the very beginning.
I didn't see the title, so you have to tell me.
See, look, there you go. Will Orlando Brown Jr. be on the rosters next year?
Oh, I asked Nate Taylor this the other day. It's amazing. It's interesting how the narrative with Orlando Brown, there's so many layers to this, because I think most people wanted the best for Orlando Brown. Like, they wanted, when players bet on themselves, you want them to come out and go out and play well and earn more money. Very rarely, and I'm sure there's examples, I can't think off the top of my head, but very rarely do you see it work out like this, where now the narrative has all of a sudden changed. There's a lot of storylines, a lot of layers to this deal, but the Chiefs may have benefited by him not signing the deal that was originally offered, because based on the way that he's played this year, in a contract year being undefeated, is worked against him in a lot of ways. Where would the Chiefs even offer the same deal that they did last year to him again this year, based on the way that he's played? And if it's not, how much of a disrespect is it to go ahead and offer less? And if you do that, that's a tough thing to sell to a player and his family and his representatives, people that are around him, to be like, I know we gave you this year, but you didn't play very well, so we're going to offer you less. It would take a player swallowing a whole lot of pride to then sign that deal. And so for that reason, I don't think he'll be back on the Chiefs next year, but also don't know if you put him on the free agent market, he's the best free agent available left tackle.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of layers to it, and you can't count on the draft for reasons we can get into. But yeah, it's a tough situation. But for me, it's just what contract could you offer him that he would accept, that the team feels good about and the player feels good about?
That's a lot of things. I think, especially when we talk about free agency, we're talking about trade, stuff like that too. There's got to be two sides. Both sides have to agree to come to a deal. I don't know if Orlando Brown is going to concede enough to say, I don't know if he'll admit like, hey, yeah, I didn't play very good this year. I don't deserve that much money. It's probably not going to happen. There's not very many people who will admit that. But if you would have told me at the beginning of the year that, I think it was kind of split 50-50, wouldn't you say, about people who wanted to resign Orlando Brown Jr. and people who wanted to just let him go. I think that percentage is probably now 80-20, 90-10. But you mentioned the free agent market after Orlando Brown. Like, he's going to be the best tackle out there. So it's a tough situation.
And you see I know it's the internal media stuff that comes out, but it seems like he genuinely, and he's at Patrick Mahomes' birthday party, they genuinely like each other. It seems like a place that he wants to be,
right?
Which does play into things, but then it makes it even more difficult when the player's not playing well. Right. And I was kind of indifferent. It was what makes sense for the money as far as wanting him back. What I got annoyed about with the stuff was the narratives that are created by certain things being leaked to the press on, well, they were going to make him the highest paid left tackle in NFL history based on average per year. Well, when you had like a $60 million on the fifth year of that deal, knowing there's no way you're going to pay that out, it raises the average per year of all the other contracts. That's the stuff when 100%. That narrative and that storyline gets out there. It's like, well, they offered him to be the highest paid and he turned it down. Like, that's not really what was offered.
Yeah.
Although looking now, very strong deal that probably should have signed, and something that is probably going to be used against players going forward when they don't accept the deal. It's like, well, if you don't play well, look what happened to Orlando Brown Jr.
I think you have to think the Chiefs dodged a bullet there, right? Because as you mentioned, they were offering him a decent amount of money. There were some dumb years on the end of it. There were opt-outs in it, obviously. But again, I don't know how much I started this by saying you got to think they just dodged a bullet. But again, how much did they really dodge? Because they do still have to have a left tackle play. They do have to have somebody go out there and play left tackle. Yeah. But it's tough. Yeah.
And Nate told us throughout the year that he was playing a little banged up. I think he was a knee. He had something that was going on. And how much will the narrative change? And I know Chiefs fans, it's caught in the prisoner of the moment. What happens if he all of a sudden starts playing like a top 5 left tackle and they go win a Super Bowl and he's dominating? It's like, all right, now give him the money. Now he's earned it. That's fine. And he's still got 6 regular season games and the playoffs where it really matters to show that he's earned some sort of a longer extension to stay here in Kansas City.
Yeah, I agree. You can hand me my phone over there. I left it over there. That's where I was pulling all the questions off of. And
if you hear any noise around us, they're actually doing tastings right now. Doing some wine tastings with some experts that are matching what people like. And you come over here, taste a lot of different wines, figure out the one you like, and then you could buy that and leave. You don't have to buy it, take it home, hope you like it, and then everything. So that's one of the beauties of McAdoo's. And again, they have 7 specialty tastings here in this Lee Summit store. We're just off 291 highway south of 150. So very easy to get to location, no matter where you're at in Kansas City. I live over in Overland Park, and it was only about 20 minutes to get over here.
It's about 40 for me.
Yeah, well, you live in Iowa, basically. Anything north of downtown is Iowa. You're across the river. It might as well be in Iowa.
I see a comment coming in through here from Cameron asking what we're going to pick up while we're here. What we're going to pick up at McAdoo's. Listen,
whatever wine my wife tells me to get when I leave.
They've got one heck of a seltzer cabinet over there. I might have to go peek and check those out.
I might get some Five Farms, to be honest.
You know what? 5 Farms and that coffee I got over there would be delectable right now. That'd be great. I love me some 5 Farms. No, but I'm looking at the questions here from the Discord. These questions, we're going to take questions obviously from the YouTube, from the Facebook, from everywhere.
It's impressive you can see that.
Yeah.
It's a ways over there.
Wild that I did be able to see that. But okay. Is Blake Bell going to come back, and what is his impact when he does, if he does? That's from Wolf24, the Discord.
That's a good question. That's something I should ask Nate about, because I thought it was a few weeks ago that he was within that time period where he could be back. And that they said, somebody had asked Coach a few weeks ago, and he said he's not that far off, or he's close. And the fact that he's not out there and no one's really talking about it yet, somebody should ask. We should get on that. We should text somebody and figure that out today. They got media here pretty soon. Normally do it around 1 or so on the Fast Fridays. You get 3 questions for Coach on Friday, not about media.
Let's get out of there.
Well, he's got to go do the production meeting for the TV stuff.
Well,
They do that at the same time.
Are they on CBS this week? It's a 3:05 game,
I would
isn't it?
guess so. I think I saw it was.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, it's CBS. I think it's the 2 or 3 crew. I know it's not Tony. It's not Romo Nance.
I think they're
not covering Russell Wilson.
I think things obviously got shifted around since it got moved from Sunday Night Football, but like the point that I can't remember who it was that made the point. It was Mark Schlereth actually, who made the point of like you're moving Patrick Mahomes out of the primetime slot because that's how bad the Broncos and Russell Wilson have been. But yeah, I think that's really interesting about Blake Bell, and we talk about Blake Bell quarterback sneaks. We talk about all kinds of stuff that you can do with Blake Bell, and the tight ends have been really good this year. You talk about Jody Fortson, you talk about Noah Gray, and obviously Travis Kelce. But what impact he can add to this tight end room, I think, could be really interesting. They don't really have an inline guy like Blake Bell, so maybe see some 14 personnel once Blake Bell comes back. Just really throw a wrench in everything. But yeah, Blake Bell, that's an interesting thought there. This one's from Drew Clark in the Discord. What are some acquisitions the team could make in the offseason to have leadership shifts similar to when Frank and Tyron were brought on?
I think if there's a premium edge rusher that they can go out and get and trade for, I think that's always an option. I think from a roster composition standpoint, you see what they did with a couple of the young DBs that they drafted. Trent McDuffie being a high value position as far as what you'd have to spend in free agency to go get him. George Karlaftis is going to be a starter on one side. Again, pass rusher, edge rusher, premium position. Who is playing opposite him on the? And these guys all rotate, but Frank Clark right now. Don't expect him necessarily to be back unless they give him an extension. The way that he's worked with the younger guys, I will always support bringing Frank back, but they need to get another guy that can really get after the quarterback on that side. So that would be a position that would make sense to me. Veteran receiver. They're going to sign some veteran receiver. I think we've talked about this ad nauseum when they traded for Kadarius Toney, but it's Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Kadarius Toney, and Sky Moore are the only receivers under contract beyond this year, except for Justin Ross. They have the rights to Cornell Power. People keep telling you that. Every time I say that, like, no, you're forgetting about Justin Ross. Like, he is going to be in the mix to compete for a roster spot. He is not a guaranteed. You don't go sign a marquee, proven veteran player in free agency because you believe Justin Ross is going to be a guy. He's going to get every opportunity. Love to see it happen, but they're not going to shift free agency plans based on an unproven player at that point.
Yeah, I agree.
In my opinion.
I think that it's going to be – I think this culture is going to be a little bit different than what it was in the Frank and Tyron year, right? I think it's going to be built from within, not going to be brought in from Frank and Tyron because you mentioned those two corners, Josh Williams, but specifically those two, Josh Williams and Trent McDuffie are phenomenal. The safety back end, it seems like those 5 guys that were brought in together seem very tight, and that's a huge way to build chemistry is bringing those guys up together and bringing them in. So maybe it's a different way that the Chiefs get chemistry, and I think that could be refreshing almost to a point. To see that happen, but no, very, very exciting. I'm gonna have to step up over here because I can't read the one question that I saw on the YouTube. So this one, I'm gonna exit the screen. How much could it help the team if Andy Reid would show a bit more fire at the right moments, like he did after the Chris Jones roughing the passer call?
I think Andy Reid shows plenty of fire that we don't see. I think the way that he handles the media, the way that he talks to media after games, especially after bad losses, it's a lot of mea culpa. It's a lot of this is my responsibility. And a lot of times it really annoys fans because they want him to get mad. They want to see the coach as angry as they are. And I guarantee you coach is more angry than you are. If you knew how much time they put into this, it works 20 hours a day and takes like 4 days off a year or something like that. And even those days, he's probably sitting on a beach drawing plays on a napkin, which he's joked about before. But I've gotten over the fact that we're not going to see a lot of that from him, but talking to people around him, even during my time when I was with the Chiefs, like it's definitely there. And just because we don't see it doesn't mean that it's not happening. And a lot of times he's getting up talking to the media. He's as much answering those questions as if he was standing in the locker room talking to his players as he was about anything else. So you're not going to see a lot of criticism of players or this or that because they really do see this as a, 11 guys on the field plus the coaching staff plus the coordinators making sure these guys are on. And it's not lip service. It's not cliches for the sake of not answering questions. It's honestly how they operate. And anybody who's played a team sport, especially football, it takes everybody. And so there's plenty of fire coming from Andy Reid. We just don't always see it.
Yeah, I do think that's really interesting. people sometimes will forget. I think it comes especially when it comes to humanizing athletes, right? You see more than you see of them on the field and on these like press conferences, right? There's more to these guys than what you see, and I think that's an interesting thing. I did love to see Andy Reid fired up after that roughing the passer call. Like that was awesome, and just doing like the little finger wag.
I wanted
like,
to
get over here.
Was it a few weeks ago? What game was it where at halftime he went and like talked to the refs?
It was that Raiders game, was it not?
Yeah. Okay. It was at the Raiders game.
Mhm.
So yeah. So when they was reported afterwards, like Andy Reid went over and talked to him, like I would have loved to have been over there because I'm sure it's a little different. Because again, if you're the yelling, screaming, you're always yelling and screaming coach, you kind of get tuned out, especially by refs. Your teammates are your players, opposing coach, whatever it is. So when he says something or goes like that, it's like, oh man, like this is something we got to take care of.
Yeah,
So.
you gotta think about that a little bit. Here's one from a friend of the network.
And again, all these questions have been submitted through our Discord for KC Sports Network. Paid subscribers of our newsletter have a chance to send these questions every week to 421 questions. But right now, because it's a special live show, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe. Send us a question or a comment, and Tucker will squint his eyes or he will walk off camera to look at his computer, make sure we bring these questions on. I'm just going to fly blind on this one, but we appreciate all you for hanging out. Again, we're at the MacDoodles Wine and Spirits Liquor Superstore here in Lee Summit, just off 291 south of 150. It's the first MacDoodles to come to the Kansas City area. If you're familiar, if you've heard of it, wondering where you've seen these, a lot of them in southern Missouri. If you've driven to the Lake of the Ozarks, you've driven past a couple of them. Tucker and I did a live show from the Sunrise Beach new location just a few weeks ago, and that was a whole lot of fun. But great place to stop by each week and get all your spirit needs.
Absolutely. I just do love this place. It's a great place to get your liquor. Well, you got a couple questions in the Discord. I also saw something pop up on our comment section about Frank Clark. You brought up Frank Clark, and we were talking about kind of acquisitions. And one of the questions was, what does a Frank Clark extension look like? Or if they want to bring Frank Clark back, what does it look like? I can't remember off the top of my head how old he is or like where he's at in that terms of things. But what are your thoughts on bringing Frank Clark back and a Frank Clark extension?
You can do a couple years. I mean, I don't know the market off the top of my head, so any numbers I'd throw out there would be completely generic.
Yeah.
Talking about like 2 years, 24 million, something like that. Like you're not going to pay him top rate for an edge rusher, even on a shorter deal. Amount of guaranteed money matters, and some fans might hear that and be like, he's not worth that. It's relative to the market, and it's relative to what he could get in other places for people to pay for, obviously, his services. So that's the kind of deal. I mean, there are a ton of examples of this across the league, and he might end up having to sign a 1 year, $10 million deal, whatever it is, and he has to decide if he wants to keep playing as well. I mean, there's always I haven't talked to him about it. I saw him a few weeks ago. We're not talking about football and stuff like this when I meet up with him. But yeah, I would love to see him back. Like I said, a couple-year deal makes sense. He's not that old compared to some other edge rushers that have been in the league a little bit longer, who are still kicking around and going and making plays. So I'd love to see him back. But yeah, it's going to be a thing.
It's really interesting because I think last year we all kind of almost anticipated him not to be back, and then they restructured his deal so he could be back. So I think that just shows you how important he is to the team. The team really values his presence in the locker room. BJ, you've talked about that a lot, ad nauseum almost, about how much his presence does mean to this team. And I think that says a lot. They restructured a deal for him to be in the locker room. So I think that it's possible that he could be back again next. That wouldn't surprise me. I don't think I'd be upset about it. Especially if he's a rotational guy. Yeah,
and I think that's one thing to be very clear. Just because he comes back doesn't mean he's your edge rusher. They're not going to go out and get another guy. I think it's definitely an area that they need to improve. Even with Frank this year, as much as his get off and all that is standing out, they still need to get a dominant player. If you want to go win a number of Super Bowls, it can't just be Chris Jones just being the one dominant player. You get another one, it changes everything for you to have two guys that teams really have to worry about. George Karlaftis, Carlos Dunlap, Frank Clark. These guys can make plays at different times, but you need a dude over there, and every team that is competing for a Super Bowl has a dude like that. And we've faced a lot of those types of guys, like, the TJ Watts, the Myles Garrett coming back from the injury, like the Chase Youngs, Von Miller at this point is an older player. So
still though,
you've got Max Crosby, look what that guy is doing. Like, you need another guy like that. And you get two of them, can't game plan to one. There's a lot more things that you can do. And I think getting a premium pass rusher to go and be alongside Chris Jones would be huge for this team.
That's the thing too when you talk about roster building that I start to think about. The draft. We love the draft here at KC Sports Network. Maddie and I have
Yes, we
already
do.
been talking about offensive linemen and edge rushers that we could look at and start to watch for the Shrine Bowl coming up right around the corner. The invites are all out and they're getting accepted, so we're getting excited for that. But from a roster building perspective, you're not going to get one of those top end pass rushers if you don't give up some capital, you don't give up draft capital to go up in the draft or to sign those guys. So it's going to be interesting to see how they construct this roster moving forward, especially with the changing of the guard. It seems like kind of the fading of one end into another. But this one's from Mike Denny from the Discord here. I think I see a couple questions up on the YouTube comments as well. We'll get to those, but this one from Mike Denny is the Justin Reid tweet fiasco smoke for lack of chemistry / tension in the defensive locker room.
You take this one first. I was reading through comments.
Yeah, I think that this is a very interesting situation with Justin Reid in the tweet thing. Mitchell Schwartz quote tweeted. I obviously tweeted out a meme about it because I can't take anything seriously. And Mitchell Schwartz said something about like this is an interesting time to tweet this. I believe it was a Tuesday or something like that, Monday or Tuesday when he tweeted out his second tweet about being right. And he's like either on the way to the facility or at the facility when he sent it. And I just think that's interesting. And Mike and Jeff talked about it as well of just if he did have a conversation with Andy Reid and how that conversation went, but then to still send that tweet is very interesting. I don't think this has anything to do with chemistry. I really don't.
No.
I don't think it has anything to do with chemistry. I think it's more about a Justin Reid thing, and he was more than willing to move on from it when they asked about him in the locker room. But yeah, I just think this whole situation's odd.
But let's be honest, all players think these kinds of things.
100%.
They just don't know where to say them. So because we saw a little glimpse of Justin Reid being honest and then he just gets crucified. Wasn't crucified for saying it, just crucified for saying it and then them going out and not winning or not backing it up in some kind of way. And I think the combination of in some ways calling another player in the league finesse, soft, whatever you're going to say, and then I'm going to lock him down. Yeah. Now in coverage, he did. He played really well. He did lock him down. I think that's what he was saying. Like, I was right. I did say I was going to lock him down, and he did because his coverage was really good. It was the calling a player soft and then getting stiff-armed multiple times. That was a bad look. I'm not going to pretend to know what Andy Reid would say to a player in that situation. I'd be really surprised if he micromanaged a player and said, don't tweet this, don't do that, as opposed to we don't do those kinds of things. We don't want to give them any reason to get fired up. And, look around, look at the rest of your teammates, people that have been here in our culture know what we do and don't do because you kind of look bad. Like it's a bad look.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think, any of his teammates, it's going to fracture anything because they all talk like this. Like they do call players soft and they say these guys suck and that guy sucks. And then they get in the mic and they show respect to everybody because that's what you want to do. I often for a long time said players should just be honest all the time, just tell the media what they think about everything. And the NFL media world would burn down. Like it would be
we're shocked by the honesty is really what it came out. Is like, whoa, why is he being honest? That's odd. No, that's an interesting way to put it. And in these meeting rooms when they're watching film, they're saying that Higbee or number 88 is a finesse guy, and that's coming straight from the film room, and it's tough.
It wasn't a unique thought, I don't think, to put it out there like that. It's probably just one of those lapses of like, we were just talking about this and it just slipped out and there happened to be a camera in front of you. But, but yeah, I saw a question from Alice Duff when I was looking here in the live chat. People got some thoughts on Tommy Sparks. No Frank Clark again. If he's a rotational player and he's not hurting your cap, you've got plenty of money to spend in free agency. And if he helps George Karlaftis and he helps those guys' development, more power to him. But Alice Duff said, how do you feel about Isaiah being the new version of Jamal? I personally think he is well on his way. It's a big is that kind of pressure on a young player is a lot. I love the way that he runs. Nick Leckie, our co-host for Outside the Trenches, says he reminds him of a young Steven Jackson, which is another high praise, huge statement to make about a young player. I love the way that he runs. I love the physicality. I love the athleticism. If he can get near any kind of production of a above average, top running back in the AFC, I think the Chiefs will have hit a home run. We're talking about a 7th round pick. He's earned the right to start. He has all the athleticism and physical abilities to be a very, very solid running back in this league. Jamal Charles was special. I mean, we're talking about the all-time leader in yards, per carry, and his ability to turn a little bit of play into an absolute home run. We haven't yet seen that big play ability from Isaiah Pacheco, but he's got the athleticism. But we're talking about a class track athlete that was running by everybody when they knew that most likely we were going to be running the football, and he was still getting it done. And yeah.
Isaiah Pacheco's actually getting really close. I can't remember who I saw tweet this out. But for 7th round rookies in yards, and they're in the rookie year, obviously, the yards again, he's getting very close to the top.
For this year, or like all time?
Like all time, 7th round rookie running backs.
Oh, wow.
It's a very specific stat, right? It's like 7th round rookie running backs.
Matt McMullen, this is right up your alley,
I know,
buddy.
it's so he's getting. I think he's like top 3 already. So he could, with a few good runs, good few games. There's still a lot of games.
You know who probably knows that answer? Brett Veach. He's probably got that because he's like, you know what? I'll just hold this in my pocket. It's a nice little nugget. Drafted the greatest 7th round running back in NFL history.
It's incredible. Like, we got to see him up close at the Shrine Bowl, and he was a tough runner. Is one of the guys that I think after practice, we got the opportunity to say, they asked us who we wanted to see, and we were like, we want that guy. Like, we want to see that guy. We get to talk to that guy. So it was a really cool opportunity to get to talk to him before he landed in Kansas City too.
Yeah. I still love that you asked him what his favorite play was in college when we interviewed him at the East West Shrine Bowl, and he talked about a pass protection rep. Like, Eric Bieniemy would love this guy. And
he does.
Here we are.
He does.
The one rep against Derwin James notwithstanding.
Oh, this is a really good question. This is from Ghostman 231. When we go to the playoffs, I wish for Tony, and Lucas to play. Obviously, Lucas Niang. Obviously, you want Joe Thuney instead of Nick Allegretti. I don't think that's a question at this point. There's probably a reason the Chiefs played him as much as he did.
Shocker, your starters are better than your backups.
But the right tackle situation, I think, is interesting because I don't know if it's necessarily fair to say that it was Lucas Niang's job to lose. I think Andrew Wiley had an inside track to it, but obviously Lucas Niang getting hurt at the end of the season like he did, and kind of taking a lot to rehab. I believe he played 1 snap. I think he got 1 snap in the last game. But yeah, I just think that you have to ride the horses that got you there.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a big thing moving forward.
Yeah. This is one of those. I kind of compared, and I've made this comparison before, Andrew Wiley to like Cam Irving from a few years ago. He can play all the different positions. He's very valuable for you in that way. To plug him in at right tackle, he's going to play well at times, and he's going to struggle at times. He's limited. He's not Mitchell Schwartz. You can't have an all-pro at every spot, but I would say to trust the coaching staff that if Lucas Niang is not out there playing, the grass isn't necessarily always greener. Now, if they make that move, it's based on what they've seen at practice, what they heard about, understanding, his responsibilities and what he's going out there and doing. Of all of the draft picks, that Brett Veach has made, that Lucas Niang not really getting to where all of us had hoped. He opted out his first year of the COVID, then he got injured, hasn't really had that opportunity. A lot of players in the NFL that have had this kind of story, but he's got to take advantage of that opportunity. If he's not out there, it's because Andrew Wiley's a better player for the Chiefs to win football games right now. Even if he is struggling, he's still a better option than the other guy. So it's not he gives up, 2 sacks in big moments. And we've seen those highlights that go over and over and over again. It's out of 60 plays, if we're being honest. So if the other 58, he's better than Lucas Niang, and you don't think Lucas Niang would make 2 mistakes within 60 plays that become highlights in slow mode and broken down. I trust Andy Reid, Andy Heck, Bieniemy, Matt Nagy to put the best guy out there.
Yeah.
But it's definitely been an area that the team has struggled. I mean, there's no getting around that. They've talked to Trevor Sikkema from Pro Football Focus earlier today for KCS an update, and that Andrew Wiley and Orlando Brown have given up the most pressures of any 2 tackles in the league. So it has definitely been a struggle. But just because that's the case doesn't mean it couldn't get worse. If you put somebody out there who the coaching staff who watches these guys every day don't think's as good.
That's the thing is these coaches aren't purposely playing bad players, right? I think sometimes people are like, how come he's not playing? He's obviously better. Well, he's not obviously better because he's not playing. And these coaches would play the best player in this situation. And I got another question here from the Discord. Going to keep it on the offensive line too. Who has a higher chance of being re-signed this offseason, Andrew Wiley or Nick Allegretti?
I would say Andrew Wiley at this point, depending upon what the contract demands are. If he's asking to get paid like a starter, I think Wiley has that positional versatility where he can play inside, he can play outside, you can move him in different spots. I think that's more valuable at this point, but again, that's going to come down to what contract demands are being made. But one of them is starting as one of the best 5 offensive linemen, and one of them is a backup right now. And Nick Allegretti can play a few different spots. He can play the 3 interior spots. So not to saying that's not valuable, but Andrew Wiley just has more experience. If I had to pick one, I'd pick the guy that's played more.
Yeah.
I think he's a great Andrew Wiley would be a great sixth offensive lineman for the team. So you can say whatever you want
100%.
about him as a right tackle.
100%.
He's your sixth guy, just like same thing was with Cam Irving. I always said like the sixth offensive lineman, I always thought was the most valuable player. If you have one guy who can play all the different positions, same thing with our co-host, one-on-one. Jeff Allen was very much like that. He played every position at the University of Illinois when he was there, I think, except center. I think that was the one spot that he hadn't played. So those guys are very, very valuable when you only get 7 offensive linemen on game days.
I do think too about Nick Allegretti, what he's been able to kind of do, just carve a niche out for himself here. For Kansas City, has been big. He's been kind of that very versatile guy. He can step in and play center. He can play those guard positions. You don't see him out on the tackle positions, but I think what he's been able to do on the interior has been good because the Chiefs' interior of their offensive line is probably the best in the NFL when healthy, with Joe Tooney on the left, Creed in the middle, and you got Trey Smith on the right side. Like that interior is nasty.
Pretty solid.
It is. You're not going to get any better than that, I don't think, in the NFL. But got a couple of questions from the YouTube. This is from How About Those Chiefs?
Okay.
Shout out Cole. Tucker, will you keep growing your beard out to get it longer? No, I don't. I think it's too long right now. And I actually, as we were setting up, I was thinking to myself, I should have trimmed my beard before I came. I don't like it very long. It just gets a little. It's not. Hey, not my flavor.
Cole, what are you doing? Get over here. You're not that far away. I know about where you live.
That's true.
You're not that far. We're at 291 and 150. You know where Mackadoodles is, buddy. Come on over. Let's get the bearded wonder out here.
Kent Swanson
show
says,
off a real beard, Tucker.
That's true. My beard's not good. I don't even have a mustache. People reminded me of that a lot.
I tried like the mustache goatee look for like 24 hours once in college, and it drove me crazy. And I was like, I can't do this. Never had facial hair.
So fun fact, when I worked at Hy-Vee in high school, the only facial hair you could have was a goatee or like mustache.
No, that was Quick Trip. Never mind. That was Quick Trip.
Quick Trip's not a good story.
Let us know in the comment section if you want to hear his Quick Trip story.
Quick Trip's not a great story.
It's a great story.
But anyway,
free drink.
I did get a free drink out of the deal.
He didn't get hired. Let's just say that.
Tanked. It was bad. But I will say I had a goatee for a while. It's not a good look.
You know what? Everything's a learning experience in life, right, Tuck?
Yeah.
And you learn in the first like 5 minutes of an interview, don't ask about vacation time, how much you can leave, like how many hours. Can you set your own schedule?
Yeah. Don't tell them what location you can work at. Don't do that.
Let's get back to football before everybody starts complaining that we're not talking about the Chiefs and the Broncos. Or again, we're hanging out here at the Mackadoodles in Lee Summit, the first of several different Mackadoodles that are coming around the Kansas City area the next couple of years. So if you're curious about what Mackadoodles is, make the trip over here. I guarantee you'll have a good time. Like we said earlier, they've got 7 different tastings tonight, whether it's beer, liquor, wine. They've got tastings all throughout the week. They have internal tastings. Again, you're shopping in the store, you go down and you're like, I wonder what this tastes like. Grab the bottle, bring it over to the tasting center. They'll pop the bottle open. They'll let you try it. And then if you like it, you can go buy it. Very unique. It's one of the cool things that separates themselves. And you and I both know this. Everyone here, you could ask any question to. They're very familiar, not just with one thing, but with all the different things. They have people who are specialized in this to make sure you get what you want. So it really is a fantastic experience, and it's a beautiful store. Here. So this is awesome.
It's got a great smell. I know that's a big part about a store for me. It's weird, but like if you walk in a store and it doesn't smell good, it's immediately turned off. I don't want to buy anything from it. But it's got that great new build smell.
Right.
My stamp of approval right there. That's my
didn't think about it that way, but sure.
No, I do like too, because like these bottles of liquor aren't cheap. I don't know if you know that, but liquor is not very cheap. So if you're wanting to try a new bourbon, try a new wine, and you don't want to fully commit, to have that option to try, I think is awesome. And I got a football question here. Grayson Jaspers. Now that McCole has missed some time, have we undervalued him?
Maybe. I think the combination, I talked about this earlier this week, that I think the combination of Mecole being out and Kadarius Toney, I thought there was a section of Andy Reid's playbook that wasn't available against the Bengals. Now, I don't think it was the reason they lost that game, because offensively, I thought they were okay, especially relative to what we saw in the playoffs. The offense was phenomenal. We saw Travis Kelce get shut down in the first half, had 65 yards in the second half of that game, which is 9 more yards than the entire offense had in the playoff game in the second half.
Right,
and
they scored a touchdown.
Yeah, I think, that's a good point. I do think that, relative to, again, last year and not having last week against the Bengals, not having those jet sweep, that ghost action. You can have Justin Watson, you can have Sky Moore try and run those plays, but the threat isn't the same as whether it's Kadarius Toney, Mecole Hardman. In the years past, it was Tyreek Hill, and before that it was DeAnthony Thomas. They've always had a guy with the skill set to run or give the threat of those types of plays, and especially Andy Reid is so good at this when you really start to break things down, of when you're facing teams with 2 edge rushers or a dominant edge rusher. We saw it with Nick Bosa earlier in the year, the way that they will move guys, get him thinking left and right, not knowing where the ball is, leaving him unblocked, running jet sweeps to his side, the ghost action stuff. They didn't have that threat. So I think in that regard, the combination of Mecole and Toney both being out didn't give them that threat. But I think Mecole has been extremely valuable. He's a solid playmaker. He's got a skill set that can turn, a quick throw into a nice gain of 10, 15, 20 yards.
Absolutely.
And those easy type yards, Chiefs have been really adept at getting with Tyreek Hill over the last few years. I know Chiefs fans are tiring of hearing of it, and it's not about him leaving. It's about you're the most explosive player in NFL history. Because let's be honest, he's the most explosive player to ever step foot on a football field.
He's good.
He's very good. Top 2-3 wide receiver in the league. And he's killing it, and nobody should be surprised at what's happening down in Miami. But the offense is still rolling, and they're still the number 1 scoring offense in the NFL. And I think once they get Mecole back and Toney and get those guys healthy going into the season, it opens up Andy Reid's playbook. It opens up the ability to try and scheme and get easy yards when you feel like you have a matchup to use that skill set with those jet sweeps. If you don't have those players, and you have to figure out a way to still pick up easy yards. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And Matty
Lane,
Lane,
a lot of coffee, so
Matty Lane brought that up on the post-game or not post-game show, the game preview show last night, and he was talking about how the red zone offense could see a dip this week. Broncos very good in the red zone.
Defense overall,
Broncos defense is very good. They've got some studs
even without
on that team.
even without Chubb, like they're still
right. And I think that Matty said this that without those kind of lateral moving plays, it kind of will get the defense to sit on some stuff, and I do agree with that. But
want to hear a funny story?
I do actually.
Patrick Surtain Jr. was in high school the last time the Broncos beat the Chiefs.
What year was that?
2015. It was a Thursday night game in 2015.
Yeah, 17.
That was the Jamal fumble game, if I'm not mistaken. It was a Thursday night game. Marcus Peters had the pick 6.
That's right. Okay. That was the last time they
Manning.
beat them.
This place went crazy. That was week 2. I very, very much remember that.
Is it odd that these 2 matchups are so late in the year? Do you think that that's weird? I think it feels weird.
I think the NFL made the schedule because they thought the Broncos were going to be good in these games. Like it was in prime time. It's like, hey, there's a big time matchup coming in, and then it was just like, you've got and Trevor Sikkema. Shout out! I'm not stealing. I did not come up with this stat, but Broncos, I think it was 13.8 points per game they're averaging right now. If they don't improve on that, it'll be the worst average points per game scored by an offense since the 2000 Cleveland Browns.
Bush administration.
The quarterback. Were you alive?
Yeah, I was 2.
I was in high school. Again, please hit that like and subscribe, and please keep sending us your questions and comments. Again, we're hanging out at the McAdoo and Lee Summit.
I got some updates from the press conferences.
Let's do it.
I figured we might as well talk about it as I saw him come across my screen here. Chiefs coach Andy Reid said wide receiver Kadarius Toney practiced the past 3 days, but didn't get a full workload. Quote, "We'll see," Reid said on if Toney is up this week versus the Broncos. That's from Herbie Teope of the Kansas City Star. Matt McMullen tweeted out, "No new injury news for the Chiefs today," per Coach Reid. "Everybody worked in some capacity." This is my favorite quote. Andy Reid said, quote, "I think we're going to be okay there," when he said asking about injuries. So Chiefs should be back to fully healthy. I don't think Mecole Hardman was activated quite yet to return, so they'll be without him. We've seen him on social media being very active.
Yeah, his first game back was going to be against Houston at the earliest. Okay. And based on what he said, it sounds like that's a likely scenario to see Mecole back, which is great. And I did see a question from Kent Swanson.
Yes.
Friend of the network, we'll call him.
Another guy.
Founding member of KC Sports Network. Asked how excited we are to go to Dick's Sporting Goods in Leawood a little bit later this afternoon to do our shopping trip for the Soul of KC holiday toy drive and raffle, and take a quick sec to thank anybody out there that's watching or listening to this after the fact that bought raffle tickets, supported this in some way. We absolutely are blown away with the amount of support we got this year. Last year, it was an amazing experience. We raised just shy of $14,000, and blew past that this year, raised just over $21,000. And we're going to get to spend all of that money on one big old shopping trip today at the Dick's Sporting Goods in in Leawood. And then the Operation Breakthrough truck is going to meet us there, and we're just going to load it up with hopefully close to between probably 700 to 1,000 different items that will be used for Operation Breakthrough's Christmas store to ensure that as many people and as many kids in Kansas City have a fantastic Christmas as possible. One of the most fun things that we did last year, I'm really looking forward to this afternoon. We've got a few different members of KC Sports Network that are going to be out there, a few different hosts, and I can't wait. It's going to take a while to spend that much money, though. That's a lot.
It did. I think I was surprised last year how long it took to spend half of what we had, pretty much.
Yeah.
And it's going to be even longer. Good thing we got more people coming with us this time, is all I got to say.
Yeah,
But,
we'll have a couple reps from
excited.
Operation Breakthrough that are coming out, and their development coordinator, Liz, is coming out to help us shop. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Rumors there may be some media there, so you might see some stuff on the news later. Some people coming to hang out. They like when, people helping people in the community, and none of this would be possible without people buying raffle tickets. It wouldn't be possible if the businesses and the different people that we asked and talked to didn't donate items that were valuable enough for people to want to purchase raffle ticket items for. So it really is a beautiful thing how simple the idea is and how it comes together, and it works.
Operation Breakthrough is incredible too. Just getting to tour that facility last year, we're going to get to go see it again this year, just to see the changes it's been in a year is exciting. I'm super excited to help out that organization like that, and help with the Christmas store too. Help kids have a great Christmas. That's huge. That is huge, especially this time of year.
And we'll be raffling off all of those winners at halftime of the game on Sunday. We'll go live. We've got a little automatic wheel spinner this time, as I didn't cut off all the paper this time. Christian Cumminger, our community outreach coordinator, is like, there's an easier way to do this, where you don't have a bunch of little pieces of paper. And I was like, it actually didn't bother me, because it was just every time I cut it, like, man, this is so cool. There's so many of these things. But yeah, we'll raffle off all of that, 29 different items from a lot of different businesses, and I'm not going to try to name them off top of my head, because I will forget some, and that's not fair to them. So a lot of cool things. My favorite's the lunch with Colin Saunders.
That's so
awesome.
cool.
That
one's so cool.
I might join just because I want to.
Lunch with Colin Saunders and BJ,
and two buddies. Yeah,
that's a cool part too. That Colin's like,
you're not going to promote
that.
I'm gonna do. No one cares, but like, I might just show up just to be there.
To facilitate, someone's got to facilitate.
Sure.
Yeah,
we'll call that. Ever talk to Colin Saunders? He's a very personable dude. Not going to be an issue, but be there anyway.
Oh, that's a great prize. Okay, we just talked about McCole Hartman. I see some comments in the YouTube talking about you should probably
check both as well.
Probably sit down Tony this week. Not a big game for Tony to be in. Listen, I'll tell you a secret. There's not a whole lot of big games left against some tough competitions for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think every game moving forward is going to be a big game, just in terms of the race for the AFC title in general, or that number 1 seed. But
it's be the best defense they face, though.
That is true. Yeah, that is true. And they'll face them again, and not the last week of the season. Second to last, right? Third to last.
Yeah, the last game is the Raiders.
Is the Raiders in Las Vegas. Talk about the Raiders for a second. That game last night.
I didn't watch it.
Well, they lost to Baker Mayfield's Rams.
I saw the tweets, but I'm not going to pretend to
know
what happened, because I read someone else's 180 characters. Here's my take on a game I did not watch.
Fair, but
I was reading Dog Man to my son. Very strange book. Very strange.
Have to give a look. Have to add it to my library.
It's like a comic. It's weird.
But no, Baker Mayfield comes in for the Rams after being unemployed on Monday, and then comes in and beats the Raiders. Is that the most embarrassing loss for the Raiders this season? The Jeff Saturday one's up there, though.
Yeah, and it's just the Raiders.
At least the Chiefs lost to the Colts when they still had their head coach, and we're still trying.
I don't know if that makes it any better.
I think so. Let us know in the comments below if you think that makes it better.
We get one game like that, one hiccup throughout the year, and the Colts game was definitely that.
Yeah,
can't have another one though.
Here's a question from Lee87 in the Discord.
Okay.
Best Christmas gift you'd give to your favorite Chiefs player?
Ooh.
I've got one.
You go. It's going to take me a while. It sounds weird, but I know some of these guys. So it's like I'm trying to think through like a really thoughtful answer here. Again, I was not giving these questions ahead of time, so I have no idea what's being asked.
I'm ambushing BJ. I just saw this one soon. I thought about it. People say Creed Humphrey and I look alike. I don't say it. I don't think we look alike at all. But I would give Creed a nice fat cut of a brisket.
Mm.
And I think he would love that. The Creed loves barbecue. I know he's got the smoker out back.
Mhm.
Loves to cook some barbecue. So I think meat's expensive. Meat prices are expensive. That's a good gift for someone who loves barbecues. Giving him a nice, huge brisket. You got to have that cap on the end so you can make the burn ends with it as well. That's what I would give Creed. I got to think of one for Tommy.
Yeah. You don't talk about him as much as being like his biggest fan right off the top. And
listen, he doesn't punt very much anymore.
That's true.
I'll have to look up how many punts he's had this year because I feel like it's incredibly low.
The first thing when you asked me that question I thought of was thinking about Colin Saunders, and I know his guy is Kyrie Irving, but then that's just a whole different answer with Kyrie Irving right now. But you get a lunch with Kyrie Irving for Colin Saunders, he'll probably be as excited as anybody who wins the raffle to have lunch with Colin Saunders. But yeah, give them all KC Sports Network sweatshirts. give it to Kelsey to wear on the #1 sports podcast in the world.
That podcast with Patrick Mahomes, I know you talked about it.
I'd have to pay like $800,000 for that product placement, whatever, because
they're good.
You overtake Pardon My Take. Pardon My Take has been the #1 sports football podcast, sports podcast for a year. Like, it's not even close. They're always #1 unless some other show like spikes it for like a week and then it drops back down. Yeah, they just announce it. It spikes up and it rises up all the rankings and then it falls back down. Really impressive how quickly it's been successful, but not surprising. The show is awesome.
Those
great personalities, current players on good teams. Brothers. Like, it's just beautiful. Perfect.
I think I'd give Tommy one of those Costco-sized bottles of conditioner. Go through a lot of conditioner with long hair. I'd had long hair, so I went through a lot of conditioner. Getting a nice year supply. It's a great gift. When we had a conversation in training camp. He's talking about cutting the hair. He told me. He said, I'm thinking about it. And I said, you should just get a mullet.
Just for a little bit. That's how long it lasts.
Yeah.
I can't think of any other good gifts. Those guys have what they want. So
they do have what they want.
Try to see something funny, and it's like, you know what? Can't think of anything funny right now. So can't think of anything funny right now. Don't say anything at all.
That's what my mom always told me. This one is from Casey. What's listed on the receipt of your first Macadoodles purchase?
I bought a bunch of seltzers.
Yeah.
When we were down at the other one. I think I bought like 4 cases of the Corona Limonadas because I couldn't find them anywhere else. I'd searched for them all over Kansas City because I had them once at the gas station liquor store, the Zips right by our house. I found them there, bought it, went back. They didn't carry it anymore. And then I went to like 15 liquor stores in and around Overland Park, over into Leawood and Lenexa, and nobody carried it, and every liquor store person was like, well, we don't sell any of it. I was like, I'm the only one in this city that likes this stuff. And I went down, and it was a little bit later, went to the Macadoodles. I found them. I texted my wife. I was like, found it. Gold mine. About like 3 or 4 cases of it.
I've got to go through my pictures because when the first time I went to Macadoodles, I bought a nice bottle of bourbon. And
I bought a bottle of Elijah Craig for Nick. Lucky.
I think we bought the same bottle because I bought that as well.
It was in the back, though. It was a special, whatever the words for it. Somebody in the YouTube comments. No, it's the allocated.
Ooh.
It was allocated. It was in the back. Like, they didn't have it on the shelf. Because remember, we walked out, we purchased it, and some of the customers walked in. He's like, where did you get that? And I'm like, the owner.
It's like, you can't have it.
It's not on the shelves. They only have so many of these.
It was Elijah Craig. I think I bought an Elijah Craig single barrel or something like that. And it was
Nick was very happy.
Good stuff.
Almost as good as the Ben Holiday. New bottled and bonded bourbon from Holiday.
They have that here? I haven't looked yet.
I do. We brought it up, and they were very familiar with it, and they are into it. They like it.
It's good
stuff.
It is
crushing it.
They got the new stuff out that they have now. Make sure you go check that out.
It's the
Brickhouse Proof.
Yes, the Brickhouse Proof. It's only available at the distillery up there. But if you wanted something that's a little bit more proof, it's a little bit stronger than they can sell in the stores or whatever those rules are.
There's a lot of rules.
Head up to Weston. Take the tour anyway. You can see how it's made. Meet Kyle, master distiller up there. He makes all the bourbon. He's awesome.
Smart.
He'll answer all your questions reluctantly. He doesn't like all the media stuff, and he's getting thrown into it when you make a product you got to talk to people about it. But yeah, friends up there in Weston.
Yeah, love Holiday. I might have to
get some more questions.
Let's do it. Go into the Discord here.
We'll take maybe 3 more and wrap this one up.
Okay. This is from Andy Nagel. What players on offense and defense need to step up to help the Chiefs win a Super Bowl?
Orlando Brown Jr.
Yep.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling needs to step up in that he it's kind of 50-50. If you throw the ball right to his chest, feel like he ain't going to catch it. But if you throw him a 50-50 ball with somebody draped all over his back, he'll make the play.
Yep.
You want him to make the play when it really, really matters. And there's going to be a handful of plays in high leverage third down situations in which the ball is going to head in his direction. He needs to make that play. That's why he's here. That's why he was one of the guys that has the extension that is going to be here for a couple of years based on the 3-year contract that he signed. So I'd say Orlando Brown Jr., him, and then I'd say Isaiah Pacheco is a rookie who's stepping up. He needs to make some plays and needs to take care of the football. Not that he hasn't been. He had the one fumble that we all remember a few weeks ago, but all that stuff gets magnified when you have to beat the Titans, the Bengals, the Bills in a playoff game, or beat any of those 2 or 3 teams plus Miami getting in the mix in consecutive weeks. You can't have mistakes. You can't give extra possessions to offenses that can score as often as the Chiefs in those games. And we've seen it before. The margin of error is 3 to 5 plays in every game. And so taking care of the football is going to be huge. And the guys that are holding it the most, obviously Patrick Mahomes needs to play well, but we expect that. But Isaiah Pacheco is going to get 15, 20 touches. He needs to take care of it. He needs to make some plays.
Yeah, I think that a lot of talks about the safety play a lot. You got to step up on that. It was so weird in that Bengals game because it seems like the Chiefs have been so sure tackling, right? But then like that game is just like they couldn't tackle anything. It's just one of those things that's frustrating. But yeah, we don't have to talk about it.
I look forward to the matchup where the Bengals come to Arrowhead and are favorites and all of the shit that's going to be talked all week leading into that game. I think that will Arrowhead, that very much sitting here now, knowing that, we'll be at the Kingdom Bar for post game and all of that, depending upon when that game is, or we'll be in Vegas for the East West Shrine Bowl at the Blue Wire Studios there at the Wynn Casino. But I'm going to have a lot of FOMO of not being at Arrowhead for that game if the Bengals come, knowing that, again, I would not be surprised at all if the Bengals are favorited or the favorite in that game. And then all the things that are going to be talked all week from national media saying Chiefs don't have a chance. They have their number and replaying all these games and all the doubt. And I think the Chiefs will feed off of that. And I think they kind of need it right now next time they face the Bengals. I think that's a beautiful number of things coming together in that it will create an environment at Arrowhead that you are going to want to be there for. And we won't be there.
We won't. So. Yeah, no, I'm excited to be in the Shrine Bowl. We were in Vegas last year for their matchup, and that was tough.
Because we know that you guys don't like Chiefs content like the day after their season ends, especially in a brutal fashion. So we had all these plans to put all this content out talking about the Super Bowl with all the players out there. And instead it was like, can't tweet, like can't really do a whole lot. People are just angry and there's nothing we can say to make anything feel better. So
we
outside of Rant Swanson having his own podcast for 30 minutes and all of us just airing our grievances, you can't do that every day for a week. You just do it on a post game, maybe the next day, and then it's all lick our wounds and get ready for next year.
I remember we showed up to the Shrine Bowl practice the next day, and it was like everyone. It was like walking into a funeral. People were just like, "Are you guys okay?" Like, it was just like, "Yeah, just like let's not
just
talk
shut
about
up.
it.
Just shut up.
Let's not talk about it." Okay, here's a question: what are your expectations for this weekend's game?
I think the Chiefs are going to win. I don't think it will be, again, I think I've said this like 6 times so far this week. I don't think it's going to be a get-right game for the Chiefs offense because I have a lot of respect for what the Broncos defense has done this year.
Yeah.
Again, they've only had 3 games where they've allowed more than 20 points. Now, they have not played the Bengals and the Bills. They've not played the Chiefs' schedule, but they're going up against NFL teams. They have been very, very good. You talked about it in the red zone, very, very good football team. And so do I think the Chiefs have a threat to lose? No. I think it's very similar to the Rams. It could be very similar to the Rams game where afterwards you don't feel great about it because there's a lot of things that are like, oh, we didn't play well here. We didn't play well there. But they won the game. That's all that really matters. Get through the win. Don't have any major injuries. And yeah, do I think the Chiefs are going to score more than 35 points? No. Do I think they're going to score less than 30? I think 27-ish, right around there is going to, I think I said 27-13 is what I kind of expect this game to be. And if you're going up against a team that isn't very good overall and you expect to blow them out, expect the Chiefs to win, yes, but it's going to be very much a Chiefs win by 10, but it feels like 30 because the Broncos just can't get anything going offensively.
I was trying to pull up DraftKings here real quick.
It was 9.5 last time I looked.
Right, but I was mostly interested in the total, what the total was going to be.
43.5.
Okay. Well, I pull up DraftKings when I got you right here. So I
That's
think
what it was yesterday. It may have changed.
it could have. I don't know if there's a whole lot that could have dictated it to change, but I do think that's interesting. It'll be a low scoring game. I think you're right on. I think you're spot on with the kind of the whole Rams vibe to it too.
Mhm.
It's going to be, I think, a Jaguars game too. They might come out and kick an onside kick, and you'll be like, okay, it might be one of those games where it's like
Yeah.
that. But I don't think that
They've got nothing to lose.
they don't.
The Broncos. I just
They
hope there's a
don't.
lot of business decisions getting made, because that's the one thing that when you get physical late in the season,
Yeah.
guys don't, especially with Pacheco, like that could be a reason why like he's going to finish the season strong, just because he runs so hard
Yeah.
that the Chiefs have a bunch of games against teams that are not playing for anything but pride or contracts for next year. And so you have a running back who's going to lower his shoulder and he's going to get after you a little bit, and you're a DB on a contract year. It's like, you know what? I'm just going to make sure that I stay healthy here.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
business decisions start getting made.
That's all I got.
All right. Well, we appreciate all of you for hanging out with us here in this afternoon. And again, we are at the Lee Summit Macadoodles. Again, they've got 7 different tastings tonight. They have tastings every day, but Jacob made sure to let us know they've got 7 tonight, with beer, with wine, with liquor, spirits, all the stuff. Come here, hang out. It's a beautiful location just off 291 south of 150. We appreciate their support. They're one of the first partners that we had at KC Sports Network, and they wanted to help us to help them get locations here to Kansas City. They've got locations now in Kansas City with this one, with more popping up soon, and we'll be doing plenty more content from this location over the next hopefully next long while.
Oh yeah.
Here as we continue to build the KC Sports Network. But we appreciate all you for hanging out. We'll have more content for you at KC Sports Network, getting you ready for the Chiefs game against the Broncos later. Check out the interview that I did with Trevor Sikkema from Pro Football Focus. He had some really interesting stats regarding his expectation for Travis Kelce having a big game,
Ooh.
not just because he's the GOAT, but also because of what the Broncos have struggled with so far this season. Also some more really, really interesting stats to get ready for that matchup. And then, yeah, plenty more content. We'll have Marlia Campbell have press coverage, and more shows getting you ready for the matchup on Sunday. But for Tucker Franklin, for myself, we appreciate you all for hanging out, and make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Follow us on social media.